Hello to all fans of the Star Wars universe. This is the second part of the story about the Order of the Prophets of the Dark Side. If you want, you can help the channel by donating, as well as subscribe and leave a comment. So let's continue the story of the followers of Darth Millennial. With the outbreak of the Galactic Civil War, the Order of the Prophets helped the Emperor's loyal allies in the struggle to maintain stability in the state. Emissaries of the Order were scouts and saboteurs on dozens of planets. For example, Saris became a personal advisor to the governor of Tatooine and a reliable support against the local resistance. Argor countered rebel activity in the Outer Rim. Kronal was effectively the head of Imperial intelligence. Kadan was not happy, however, as the Prophets grew in power. He had to give up more and more power to Palpatine. His best agents became elite assassins in the service of the Sith Lord. For his part, the Sith Lord was unhappy with the bleak prospects of the future. The Prophets predicted the death of the Death Star and the triumph of the Rebel Alliance. After the Battle of Yavin, the High Prophet informed Palpatine of the danger of Luke Skywalker. From then on, the search for Luke Skywalker became a real obsession for the Emperor and undermined the trust between the Emperor of the Galaxy and the Patriarch of Dromund Kaas. After a while, the Emperor became interested in the ancient Sith training methods and offered Kadan to train Azrakel in them. However, Palpatine soon grew bored with the idea, and the Supreme Prophet was given a unique opportunity to create his own chained dog for the subsequent seizure of power over the galaxy. He nurtured Azrakel's hatred of the Emperor and Darth Vader through the Force and brutal torture. However, he overdid it and almost missed the moment when his pupil wanted to rebel against his father. Shortly before the Battle of Endor, the Dark Warrior Azrakel left his teacher and disappeared somewhere in the Outer Rim. The relationship between the Emperor and the Prophets became strained after Palpatine met with Kadan before the Endor operation. The Dark Lord wished to restore his former friendship with Kadan and to know the answer of the Supreme Prophet about the restoration of the balance of the Force and the imminent death of the Galactic Empire. However, he did not take their prophecies seriously. The information that the main reason for the collapse would be Palpatine's selfishness made him furious, so he announced the destruction of the Prophets. The Prophets foresaw his act and abandoned the planet beforehand. The new refuge for Kadan and his companions was the secret temple on the planet Bostirda. After the death of Emperor Palpatine at Endor, the dissolution of the Order of the Prophets, and the disappearance of Kadan, the remaining followers of the Order were confused. Saris was forced to leave Tatooine and become an ally of the Dark Jedi Jarek. Her example was followed by Gork and Pick. Marek Stele joined Baron Fell's 181st Fighter Wing and afterwards served under Gilad Pellaeon in the Outer Rim. Marili became close to the defender of the Kashyyyk system, Grand Admiral Pakati Sin. Lord Kronal, nicknamed Black Hole, was the greatest contributor to the political events of early post-Endor. Being close to the Emperor of Men, Lord Kronal began to transform the state into a theocracy of the dark side of the Force. After gaining full control of the Hollow Net, he manipulated the worldview of Imperial citizens for a long time. Palpatine's followers created the Church of the Dark Side. It preached the imminent return of the Emperor and the defeat of the rebels. So the new opium for the people was in fact a high-quality propaganda machine, carefully brainwashing the common people. Not only former adepts of the Order of Prophets like Shronal or Saris, but also actors of the level of Jack Nicholson and imitators from among the employees of the Imperial Security Service. The best of them was Bim Raja Ubuki, a theater actor with the appearance of a typical dwarf. He was an ideal candidate for the role of the Supreme Prophet Kadan, whose height did not exceed 120 centimeters. His faithful assistant Heingort Gaidis, a huge humanoid of the Null race, was a perfect replacement for the High Prophet Jedgar. The fake Jedgar wrote a book, Secrets of the Dark Side, in which he outlined the prophecies of his miniature boss in an unusual form. However, few people knew that it was not the Force that revealed the fictitious future to the devious dwarf, but a vast network of spies and informants. They chose the Scardia space station in the Zero Zone of the expansion region as Kadan's base of operations. Unlike the cells of the Prophets of the Dark Side on Dromund Kaas, this base was renowned for its luxury. A couple months after Endor's, Grand Admiral Sin and his advisor Marili died. The Star Destroyer was destroyed by Admiral Akbar's forces at the Battle of Kashyyyk. In an armed coup, Izan Izard seized power over Coruscant. Sate Pestage was later killed in Admiral Kronal's captivity, though in fact the cunning old man had secretly traveled to Biss long before the coup, leaving a loyal but foolish clone in his place. Also, Lord Kronel escaped with copies of Jango Fett, but the goal was achieved. The Church of the Dark Side continued its activities. It is worth noting that among the entire political elite of the Empire, Pestage was the only one who knew the truth, hidden from all Imperial commanders and Dark Force users with their petty ambitions. Palpatine was alive. Lord Kronel's actors wanted to take control of the galaxy. After the end of the Nagai Toth War, rumors circulated that Darth Vader's right glove had survived the explosion of the second Death Star. His Eminence Kadan predicted that a new overlord would soon ascend the throne of the Empire, and that he would wear the glove of Darth Vader on his hand. This glove was based on the ancient amulet of Lord Scare Khan. To the fake Kadan, the glove was just a trinket, but the Emperor, who had returned from the eternal realm of shadows, saw it as an important element in the rebirth of the Galactic Empire. The true prophets, led by Jedgar, wanted to leave Bastirda and destroy the heretics, but Kadan talked them out of it. More time is needed to increase their power. In the meantime, the enemies of the prophets will weaken each other in the struggle for power, and then the Order will be able to exact revenge. Meanwhile, there was another powerful faction led by Grand Moff Hissa. The Central Committee of Grand Moffs, in opposition to a Sard, elected Trioculus as the new Emperor of the Galaxy. He was a former overseer from the Kessel Mines and an imposter who claimed to be the son of the slain Palpatine. Even during the Emperor's lifetime, there were rumors of his mutant son with 3 eyes. Trioculus possessed such eyes, but he got them from Sly Moore's genetic experiments. Trioculus's meteoric rise to popularity made a lot of noise in the upper echelons of the Imperial Armed Forces. His main opponent was Grand Admiral Joseph Grunger. To get the final victory in the political struggle, Trioculus went in search of Darth Vader's glove. This search succeeded in the depths of Mont Calamari. However, wearing this artifact resulted in many scars. Therefore, Trioculus ordered an exact replica of the glove to be made. The fate of the original is not known. According to an unverified information, after some time the glove passed into the hands of false prophets and through Ubuki to the Dark Lord Lumia. Meanwhile, Kadan spies had learned that the Emperor's true son had been killed because of his madness. So when Trioculus arrived on the Scardia space station with Hissa, the leaders of the prophets and the Central Committee accused him of being an imposter and killing Palpatine's true heir. Hissa assured Kadan that the Emperor's true son was alive and imprisoned in solitary confinement on Duro. However, he is insane. Therefore, Trioculus is the perfect candidate for the role of Emperor of the Galaxy. The prophets have endorsed this position. But Messiah Ubuki predicted that a Jedi from the lost Jedi city of Yavin IV would challenge the power of the new Emperor. On the 4th moon of Yavin, Trioculus searched the entire planet for the Jedi from the prophecy. Luke Skywalker was the first to pick up a boy named Ken, who lived in the ruins of one of the Massassi temples. Trioculus and Hessa made many efforts to capture or destroy the child. They eventually caught up with him in Cloud City on Bespin, but, as chance would have it, Trioculus was captured by Jabba the Hutt Zorba and Ken escaped. The imposter Kadan became disillusioned with the cooperation of Trioculus and his allies from the Central Committee of Grand Moffs. Therefore, he began to prepare a coup d'etat. He went against Trioculus and announced his election as the new head of the Galactic Empire. Emissaries of the Church of the Dark Side have contacted Zorba. They agreed to hand over Trioculus's carbonite frozen body to the prophets. However, Hissa's agents were quicker. In a special operation, they seized the carbonite slab containing Trioculus's body. After that, the prophets, led by the not-real Jedgar, lured the Imperials into a trap. As a result, the Imperials had to recognize the imposter Kadan as the new Emperor and destroyed the carbonite slab. However, it was by then empty. Trioculus's body was aboard Hutt Zorba's personal yacht. The yacht was on course for Tatooine. The Supreme Prophet's closest aide traveled to Duro in an effort to gain her resources, but his intentions were defeated. The forces of the New Republic, backed by Ken, put the prophets and their allies to flight. Meanwhile, the imposter Kadan wanted to get rid of the threat of the Central Committee. He signed a decree to eliminate the Grand Moffs, but they escaped from the Church of the Dark Side space station before it was signed. In Tatooine's orbit, rebel governors seized Zorba's yacht. A carbonite slab containing the body of Trioculus was found on it. Trioculus's body was dropped to the Sarlacc, but he survived. He was picked up by the Jawas and taken to the prophets. Sometime later, Trioculus was liquidated by the New Republic's special services. The information received from Zorba allowed the committee leaders to be captured and tried for treason. After Master Deffin's torture, the Grand Moffs confessed to everything. The only exception was Bertroff Hissa. Thistleborn received 3 years hard labor on Bannock, Dunhausen, 4 years on the Ice of Hoth, Muzzer, 5 years exile on Arzid. Grand Moff Hissa of the Prophets was sentenced to death. The trial of the former Grand Moffs coincided with the news of the discovery of the location of the lost city of the Jedi. This city became the headquarters of Spin, one of the New Republic's intelligence departments. This information had come from an implant in Triclops' head. He unwittingly wrote down and sent the coordinates of the location to the Prophets. The self-appointed Kadan and Jedgar wanted to escort the death-sentenced Grand Moff Muzzer to Arzid. There they encountered Skywalker and Ken. The stormtroopers captured the young Jedi Knight and his comrade. The head of the church wanted to interrogate them personally, and if he could, he wanted to win them over to his side. He promised to tell Ken the truth about his parents. After arriving on the 4th moon of Yavin, the imposter Kadan nearly fell into the Republic's trap. He realized that the information he had received from Triclops was false. Under threat of killing Skywalker, he forced Ken to lead him further into the depths of the lava caves. He sent the Jedi himself upstairs under escort. That's how he got to the Lost City's central computer base. It held many secrets of the Galactic Empire and the New Republic that had emerged from its wreckage. While exploring the Spin archives, the imposter Kadan revealed to Ken the truth about his parents. They were the Jedi girl Kendalina, who escaped death during the execution of Order 66, as well as Triclops. The true son of the Emperor and his grandfather was Palpatine himself. The imposter Kadan copied the information he needed and destroyed the computer center. On his way back, Luke Skywalker blocked his path. As he fled, the imposter Kadan lost his hard-won information. All the soldiers and prophets that accompanied him fell into the hands of the New Republic. On his way to the Scardia space station, the imposter Kadan learned of the collapse of the Church of the Dark Side dictatorship. Izan Izard issued a decree on freedom of religion. This ended the power of the prophets. After arriving on Scardia, the imposter Kadan, aka Raja Ubuki, saw the corridors of the station strewn with the dead bodies of his comrades and associates. The station was first looted by Admiral Troyton Teradok. Then Grand Admiral Afshin Makati, in alliance with the Dark Warrior Azrakel, drowned the station in blood. Grand Admiral Afshin Makati was famous for his bestial hatred of the prophets of the dark side. For years he had waited for the right moment, and now, Her Majesty the Empress has entrusted him with the task of dealing with a cult that has become a threat to the Galactic Empire. Scared to death, the imposter Kadan forgot his pride and begged for mercy from the Grand Admiral, but all he got in return was turbo laser fire on the station. Such was the end of the prophets of the Church of the Dark Side, but not the true prophets. Meanwhile, the real Kadan saw a vision of the Valley of the Jedi, and the power hidden within its depths. With its help, the prophets of the dark side could emerge from the shadows and destroy all their enemies. The High Prophet's emissaries enlisted the support of Jarek, the Supreme Inquisitor of Justice in the Pentastar alignment. Grand Moff Ardos Kane seemed the perfect candidate to lead the expedition. The High Inquisitor had negotiated the search for the Veil and the associated funding with both the Order, the Pentastar alignment, and even Agent Blackhole. Blackhole was acting on behalf of the Emperor. Under the holographic guise of Blackhole lurked Sati Pestage. The real agent, Kronal, finally went insane after the disaster that befell him on Mindor and turned his body into a monstrous mixture of living metal and flesh. Jarek was loyal only to himself and wanted to crush everyone and rule the galaxy himself with the acquisition of the Valley of the Jedi. However, the plan of the Grand Inquisitor and allies was destroyed by self-taught Jedi Kyle Katarn. Jarek found the Valley of the Jedi, but was unable to harness its power. Katarn crushed the Supreme Inquisitor's followers, including former Prophetess Cyrus, Dark Jedi Cyborg Maw, and crazy Twi'lek Bakaseka. After which, he defeated Jarek. The Grand Inquisitor failed, marking the beginning of the end for the Prophets of the Dark Side. The Prophets of the Dark Side could never find a probability that would allow them to survive. The Prophets of the Dark Side were finally destroyed after an anonymous report to the Dark Warrior Azrakel about the location of their citadel. Kadan's former apprentice massacred his teacher and some of his followers. However, he died at the hands of the surviving prophets. Soon, the Dark Lord Lumia and her apprentice Karner Jax destroyed the remnants of the cult and took possession of the priceless legacy of the ancient Sith Lords. 6 years after the Battle of Endor, Kyle Katarn discovered the coordinates of Dromund Kaas and embarked on a perilous journey into the heart of the ancient Sith Empire. Though the prophets were dead, the darkness of this gloomy world had not gone away. Kyle Katarn fell under the influence of the dark side. It was only with the timely help of Mara Jade that he was able to return to the light side. The new Jedi Order has gone to great lengths to conceal information about the location of Dromund Kaas and the fact of its existence. The death of the Mad Lord Chronal on Anduvil in 15 after the Battle of Yavin put an end to the centuries-long history of the Order of the Prophets. For a millennium, the prophets of the dark side had been accumulating knowledge about the nature of darkness and its power, the history of ancient Sith civilizations and individual Dark Lords. The prophets' contribution to the preservation of the unique heritage of Sith culture can hardly be overestimated. However, the attempt to interfere in big politics, as well as the habit of seeing only slaves around them, turned out to be their inglorious fall and terrible demise. This is the story of the cult of the Dark Side Prophets. If you like it, you can support the channel by donating, liking, or commenting. All the links you will find in the description, and that's all for today. See you later!